We also have the opportunity to hear from 3 amazing young people from our own community. David Cabogason, Sundos Issa, and Gloria Pappaterra. They all have their own insights about their experiences and how they have shaped them profoundly. We have asked them to give us their thoughts on how we can promote equity and ensure that all young children and people feel supported and respected.
So my name is David Cabogason, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys an experience from my high school career in 9th grade, and which I thought has some real learning value here. So a little about me first. It's always got to be about me. I'm a student at Sinclair Community College right now, so I go here, this wonderful school. I am also an assistant preschool teacher at United Rehabilitation Services. I know, it's amazing, right? So my father is Filipino. He lives in California right now, and I also have 2 amazing moms. So my experience, it starts out 9th grade. I had just gotten enrolled in this new class. It's an honor roll class, an honors class, World Studies, I think, if I remember correctly. And all throughout my middle school experience, all throughout elementary school, I had straight A's, great attendance, teacher's pet, as I tried to be. And so when I got into high school, I thought, man, I'm gonna be ready for this, nothing can shock me. But as I'm going through this class in the first few weeks, my grades are dropping rapidly. I understood why. I made some reasons to myself. I'm like, man, I'm just being lazy. But I gotta stay true to myself. The real reasons in which I thought my grades were dropping and my school in general was just going a little bit low, my parents were going through a very, very rough divorce. Very abusive when I was younger. And my mom had just come out to me and my brothers. So in 9th grade, that could be a real shocker sometimes. Yeah. So my mom noticed, not shockingly, my mom found out, because that's the woman she is. She's always gonna be on me and my brothers about our grades. So she found out, she's like, David, I'm gonna make a conference, we're gonna talk to your teacher and get through this. And I am just thinking, oh my gosh, the worst is about to happen. My mom's gonna spill the beans to this teacher. She's gonna just fail me right then and there or something like that. I had no idea what to think. And my first mistake was I had pegged this teacher, an elderly Southern woman who, being of mixed race, having a mom who is same sex, who's homosexual, I thought the worst of her. I thought there's no possible way that this woman will understand anything that I'm going through. She's just gonna fill me with her own bias about me. She's gonna be ignorant towards me. But what she did the day of the conference really shocked me. She pulled me out in the hallway. My mom's waiting out there. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? She got done talking with my mom. My mom left. She says, David. She puts a hand on my shoulder and she says, David, I know what you're going through. It's going to be okay. And going through that tough time in my life, it's something where a little bit of kindness goes a long way. And so for her to take me out and single me out with kindness instead of bias, instead of ignorance, it affects me now. It traveled through my years, through high school and into my sophomore year here at Sinclair, and it still affects me. So why was this so profound to me? I got reassurance in my lowest time in high school, and I can say that it was my lowest time in high school. I wasn't judged. I was supported by this woman I barely knew, who I had made a stigma, a stereotype about. And so I have to go through, and I know that I was wrong in that instance. That I stereotyped this woman, and she did the greatest kindness to me that I ever could have gotten in high school. So I had to confront my own biases. I had to realize that I was wrong. I terribly misjudged this teacher when she showed me kindness, when she showed me love, She showed me reassurance, understanding, all the things that I was missing in my 9th grade year of high school. She gave it to me in about 30 seconds of speaking to me. And working with the kids that I work with, I try to instill that same amount of emotional sensitivity, that same amount of understanding to these preschoolers who, despite where they come from, they might not understand, but I'm still gonna try and teach to them the best ways I can and I know possible. And I think that's all thanks to what my teacher did to me in 9th grade. So I'm never gonna forget it. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, thank you, David. Okay. So, hello, my name is Issa. I am 18 years old, a sophomore at Sinclair, and I am an immigrant. I immigrated from Palestine to America when I was about 3 years old with 7 of my siblings. Now, I wish I could tell you that my dad brought us here because he wanted a better life for us, but unfortunately, that's not the case. My dad realized that it was better for his business, and my mom did what she was culturally expected to do, obey her husband. Despite this, my mom quickly realized the importance of education and sent me to 4 schools that shaped my K-12 experience: Patterson Kennedy, Kaiser, the Dayton Islamic School, and the Dayton Early College Academy, DECA. Now, there is no way I can tell you guys about my K-12 experience in just 3 minutes, but I can tell you guys about a decision that I made that will impact my life forever. It began when I was in the 1st grade when I attended Patterson Kennedy. My mom was called to a parent-teacher conference. I remember the teacher having the hardest time talking to my mom. I remember my mom not understanding a single word my teacher was talking about. I remember kids asking me what that thing was on my mom's head and why she couldn't speak English. And because she couldn't speak English, that she must be dumb. And since I'm her daughter, I'm dumb as well. Now, at first, I really did try to ignore it, but the more my mom came, the more questions were asked. Until one day, I decided that I had enough. So I sat my older brother down, and I described my situation to him. He said that he had the same problem as well. So we came up with a solution that any 5- and 7-year-old would have come up with. My mom could never attend another parent-teacher conference ever again. And we were determined. Since my dad was uninvolved at that time, we changed my dad's number with my mom's phone number. Whenever they gave us a parent letter home telling us that there was a parent-teacher conference, we ripped it up, threw it in a bag, walked behind our house and threw it in the dumpster. Now, when I transferred to DECA, I was uncomfortable. I left a school where I was surrounded by Muslims to a school where I was the only Muslim woman in my class. So when my teacher told me that my mom had to come to a parent-teacher conference, I knew 2 things. 1, I was a minority within a minority school, and 2, I was not going to let my mom embarrass me at this new school. So I continued to deny my mom her right to support me. Now, looking at this from the surface, it may not seem like an important factor, but I can assure you that it is. Allow me to explain why. I was part of the DECA mock trial team, and out of 20+ competitions that I have competed in, my mom attended 1. Out of the 8 robotics competitions, my mom attended none. Out of 6 major presentations that I was required to do to graduate, my mom attended 1. Out of the two major award ceremonies that I was invited to, my mom attended none. I was so used to telling her not about the small things in life, I forgot to tell her about the important ones as well. Now I have to stand here acknowledging the fact that I denied my mom her rights. So I will leave you by saying this. Do not be too quick to assume that the immigrant parent does not care about her child, because there is another problem in the situation that you do not know about. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Pappaterra, and I'm going to go ahead and start. Discrimination. This was a word that I heard often as a child. It was a word that I associated with complications and problems and drama. I had seen my father be aggressively outspoken about his rights as a deaf man, his right to equal access to communication, and yada, yada, yada. My K-12 mind could not understand such a concept. As a child, I never really saw myself as different, and this was both a beautiful and a detrimental part of my journey. English is not my first, nor my second, but my third language. My mother was born in Holguín, Cuba, and my father is from Carolina, Puerto Rico. I am the daughter of immigrants, and damn proud. I always was. Growing up, we hardly heard English in my home. Despite this language barrier, I was a bright kid, and I excelled in school. I was inquisitive, talkative, and I loved to read. I understood that my life was a little different. My friends couldn't sign or speak Spanish, but I never thought that it was odd that I was the only one. I was the girl who was always excited to bring my parents to parent-teacher conferences and show them off with interpreters and accents and everything. When I look back on those years, I always remember that I had incredible teachers who went above and beyond for me. Maybe these good memories have something to do with all the A's I got, but I like to think that I earned them. I worked hard, and so did those who were teaching me. I can emphatically say that I never felt stigmatized. My teachers made space for children from different backgrounds, not just me, in a way that was teachable, not just for demonstrative purposes. These were lessons on humanity that were genuine and pure, lessons that bridged gaps. They were more than a curriculum strategy masked by good intentions. I was able to be myself because I felt safe. In the second grade, we were reading a story about a Hispanic girl who looked forward to making tamales with her grandmother. I immediately connected with the story because my mom made tamales too. That day, my teacher made space. She noticed my enthusiasm and encouraged me to speak to the class about my experience with genuine respect and curiosity. When she showed she was curious, it allowed my classmates to be curious. One thing led to another, and my mother ended up making tamales for the whole class and teaching my peers, my friends, about my culture. We made a whole day of it, and everyone loved it. Being culturally sensitive and culturally aware takes more than just one lesson about an ethnic dish. But the reason I didn't feel singled out and the reason I felt accepted was because of how my culture was talked about and how I was treated, not just on that day, but every single day after that. I'll never forget that feeling. The assurance that I had something valuable to offer, and that even though I was different, that I had just as much to offer as everyone else. That experience continues to shape my life today. To the best of my knowledge, I believe I had all white female teachers until the 5th grade, where I had one white male teacher. I don't think I actually had a class with a teacher of color until high school. This is when I started noticing the divisiveness more, the harshness between cultures, races. I started noticing what I now know is ignorance. That innocent, headstrong pride morphed into fear and alienation, discrimination. There's that word again, discrimination. It's the new millennium. Civil rights is in our history books. Women can vote. We've moved so far past this, haven't we? I had had the privilege of having beautiful people as educators, wonderful people, people who I still love and admire with my whole heart, but we never talked about it. We never talked about modern day oppression, modern day isms. We never talked about discrimination, bigotry, or bias. These words, they crowded my head. They filled my heart with darkness and doubt and fear. These words and actions and feelings that I could never control because this was learned behavior. I was different, and all of a sudden, it wasn't good. This was reality. I woke up my senior year of high school. My world came crashing down that day. It was like being blind or deaf and then suddenly being able to see or hear. My senses were in overdrive, my heart in frenzy and my brain scattered. I didn't have an explanation. I wish we had talked more about discrimination. The transition from the dark to the light was very difficult for me. I started to fall behind, to question everything. Why had no one taken the time before? I sank into depression, resentment, and anger. I threw myself into social justice, asking why and how and when. I am a proud Wayne warrior, a Sinclair Tartan, and as of last semester, a Wright State Raider. I graduated with my degree in interpreting for the deaf, my culture tangling itself into my career, political science following close behind. I'm proud. I'm blessed to have had the educators I had, and I'm fortunate enough to keep learning. It really wasn't until recently that I thought about these two very different experiences of mine, the tamales and the day I woke up. The tamales remind me that there is inherent good, that there are beautiful people with privilege who not only have knowledge of that privilege, but make space for minority groups. They make this world better by making it inclusive, by embracing diversity. But the day I woke up reminds me that our work is never done. We can always be more understanding, we can always be more empathetic, and we can always be more human. I encourage teachers to address these issues. Do not shrink away from them. Knowledge is power, and that is why it lies in your hands, the hands of educators, to equip our students with scholarly knowledge as well as realistic worldly knowledge. You do have the power to change lives. Thank you for everything you do.
Wow, that was powerful, wasn't it? Please join me in thanking one more time some of our families who are in the audience with us today, and again, the students. We are so thankful for them.